What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler. I'm not really quite sure what to title this yet, so I don't know what to say for the title right here, but it's probably going to be an interesting title. Essentially, this story is about last Thanksgiving when I had to drive all the way back up north from the town I live in now, about 3.5 hours to my hometown for a court date, and I had no license, and I got pulled over about 2 hours away from home in the middle of the night, and then got stranded at a gas station because my car got impounded and I couldn't get it out with no license. Shit got ugly really fast. I had drugs on me. It was bad. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you do. And also, I don't know if I mentioned this already because I'm really high, but this is going to be a two-part video. So, there's just no way this is all going to fit in one video, quite frankly. So, either way, let's dive right into it. This started off about a week before Thanksgiving in 2019, just last fall, right? And I had a court date about a week before Thanksgiving, so I figured if I was already driving up north to my hometown a week before Thanksgiving, I could just stay the whole week so I could, see my mom on Thanksgiving and, see the homies and have a fun time, right? So I'd kind of planned out my whole trip, right? I didn't really want to spend money on a hotel for the whole week, and honestly, at the time, I had just moved out and gotten a new car, so I was kind of broke and couldn't really afford a hotel for a week. So I had to kind of improvise, right? I'm sitting there and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I hit up my buddy Kevin, and I was like, hey, dude, I'm going to be coming up north for court. Can I crash at your place for like a night or two, right? Figuring if I can just get a night or two at his crib, then I'll go from there. Then I could get a hotel from there and maybe save some money, right? He's like, yeah, bro, of course. Just hit me up when you come through and you can come over, right? So I'm like, bet, sounds good. So I'm packing up all my stuff. I really only had a little white zip tie bag. It was just a garbage bag, actually. I tried to make it sound like it wasn't a garbage bag. It was a garbage bag. It was a garbage bag full of clothes in my backpack with a PlayStation in it, right? The classic loadout, ladies and gentlemen. And then in my backpack, I also had a freshly purchased ounce, right? Freshly purchased, beautiful, smelled great. It was some gelato. It was awesome. It was gorgeous weed. It was a little under an ounce at this point. I think I'd smoked a good bit of it. It might have been like 21 grams or so. But either way, it was a zip at one point, and it smelled like a zip, that's for sure. So I put that in my backpack, I throw it in the trunk of my car, and just a few days prior to making this little trip, I had recently gotten a new car. It's still the car that I have right now. It was a 1991 Volvo 240, right? A classic little thing. I got it for a great deal. I love the fucking car, bro. It's so fun. And I was really excited to take it on a little road trip, right? I was like, okay, I've driven it around town, but it's time for me to take her on a nice little road trip. Now, I did not have a driving license, right? Or a driver's license. My L's was suspended. So obviously I could not get pulled over, right? I also had another problem in the car, which was my tail light was kind of acting a fool, right? It was out. So I figured, okay, I'm just going to drive during the day, and then I'll just get it fixed the next day after my court date while I'm up there, right? No biggie, no rush. Taillight, dude, they can get that done in less than an hour, Easy, whatever. So I leave my house a little later than expected, right? I planned on leaving my house at 2 o'clock, and I should have been up there by 4:30, 5 o'clock, right? I left. My plan was to leave a little before 2, right? And I had to leave this day. It was the night before my court date. I had no choice. Things did not work out as planned. I got backed up doing stuff, and I didn't get out of my house until 2:20, about 20 minutes late, which isn't a big deal, but here in Illinois, towards the end of the fall, beginning of the winter, the sun literally goes down at 4 o'clock. It's apocalyptic how early the sun goes down sometimes. It sucks, right? So it's not a good time, right? So I'm sitting here, and I'm kind of stressed. I get behind the wheel, I start driving, I'm on my road trip, and I'm a little worried, but I figure, once I make it past, maybe the halfway point, I'll feel a little better, because there's a certain stint, where really down here in rural Illinois, the state troopers have nothing better to do than just sit on the highway and wait for speeders, right? So there's a shitload of speed traps, but once you get from where I am past like Bloomington area, for those of you guys who know where that is, if you don't know where that is, it's like central Illinois basically. It's central Illinois, like very central. And once you get past there, it kind of lightens up. But south of there, it's a lot worse, right? So I'm kind of driving up, and it's all fine and dandy. I'm listening to my music, and this little 240 had a sub in the trunk, too, so I'm bumping good. I'm smoking a blunt, and, of course, the nice thing about this car is it didn't hold, like, the smell of smoke whatsoever. Despite the fact that the seats were cloth, or, like, some sort of cloth-like material, they were really soft. It just did not hold smells for shit. So, like, I could burn a blunt and literally crack my window and roll it back up in, like, 60 seconds, and I'd be, smell-free, essentially, completely fine, right? That's an important thing to mention here, right? So I smoked my first blunt. I get past Bloomington. I'm like, okay, I'm good to go, Now I'm past the bad part. There's still some speed traps, but it's good. And I kind of just zoned out because I was stoned and cruising. And the thing is, the transition from, like, the sun getting low to it just being straight up dark and you having to turn on your headlights is like a 20-minute time window here, right? And that happened very quickly. Like, I remember just driving and just kind of noticing that the sky was starting to get more blue than it was yellow. And then it was just all blue, and then the blue started getting deeper, and my heart just kind of sank a little bit. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. Because my back right taillight is basically out, like completely out, right? I figured, you know what? My brake light isn't out. So if I just keep a close eye out whenever I'm approaching cops, and I speed when I'm approaching the, like, little gaps in traffic where cops are, then I can brake without going too slow in front of the cop, so my lights will be on, and he won't think my brake light's out until I'm far gone, It was the most, like, stoned idea ever, but I was like, maybe I could just do this the struggle way, just, like, lightly brake my way past every single potential speed trap, right? And that's what I did. For, like, 30 minutes, that's what I did, and I was completely fine, right? Fine and dandy. But it got to the point where it was so dark, and my weak little headlights that needed to be swapped just could not give me light far enough to really make out any speed traps. And at that point, I knew it was really up in the air. Like, I was at God's fucking mercy at this point. And lo and behold, I get pulled over. Maybe like, 40 minutes after the sun goes down, I get lit up. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. And it doesn't really hit me what's about to happen until I pull over and stop the car, and I just kind of start putting the pieces together. My first thought was, well, I don't have a license. But then I realized that means the car gets impounded. Then I realized that I'm like 2 hours away from my destination and 2 hours away from home. Like, I'm dead center. I'm just the worst possible position to be in, right? And C, my phone is not very high on battery, right? And D, because I don't have my license, right? I hadn't gone and gotten my state ID, right? I always use my L's as my state ID. That was my only form of identification that I had, verifying my age. So I couldn't even go get a hotel, right? I couldn't even go get a hotel. So as I'm thinking about these things, this cop walks up to my car and he's like, hey, you got your license and insurance, right? The car was not insured either. I'm like, oh, I think I forgot my license, right? I don't have it with me, but I can give you my name. And I also don't have my proof of insurance. I left it in my wallet at home, right? I had my wallet, but I told him I left it at home or whatever, right? He's like, he takes down my information. He's like, all right, just give me a minute. I'll be back, right? He goes back to his car. And he sits in his car for what feels like an eternity. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, thank God my weed is in the trunk. Thank God my bag is in the trunk, right? Like, I would tweak the fuck out if my bud was in the car right now, because then it would be me probably getting booked far away, because weed wasn't legal yet, right? Weed was not legal yet in Illinois. It got legalized in January here. This was in November, right? And I don't know exactly. I think 14 grams was the decriminalized amount, but I think if it's over a half ounce, technically they could book you, right? On some petty misdemeanor shit. So either way, I'm sitting there and I'm just running through all these worst case scenarios in my head. And the cop finally comes back to my car and he's like, hey, man, can you turn the car off? And he's like, well, I got some bad news for you. And I already knew what he was about to say. And I was like, I acted surprised. I'm like, oh, what are you talking about, man? And he's like, it looks like your license is suspended here. And I'm like, oh, what? That's crazy. And here's the thing. Whenever your license gets suspended, right? at least in my case, I had a 30-day buffer after like when I first got charged to when I got my license suspended, right? And my license literally got suspended the day before, and I just didn't realize it. I never checked the mail, never realized that they like what date they were suspending my license. I was just acting like it was suspended from day one. And it turns out it was officially suspended the day before this day. I came to find out, right? So either way, he's like, yeah, you're suspended, man. Can you go ahead and just shut the car off, right? And he didn't tell me to step out because I'm on the highway, right? So I can't just hop out. So he's like, just stay in your car, keep the car off, and, we'll figure out what to do here, right? So I turn the car off, and I'm just kind of waiting for him. And he's like, I'll be right back real quick. And he goes back to his car. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, fuck, dude. I spark up a cigarette, and I'm smoking my square. And I'm just like, damn, dude. At this point, I have no idea what to do. So I pull out my phone, and I realize I'm not driving away. Like, no matter what happens, I could suck this guy off. I could give him the meanest neck he's ever gotten, and I'm still not driving away, right? Therefore, I need to hatch a game plan. Problem was, it was kind of like, I didn't really know anyone even remotely close. Like, I was in just the worst spot geographically. Like, I just genuinely knew nobody nearby. So I call up Kevin, because I figured I'm going to that guy's house. And I'm like, Kevin, dude, I think I'm about to be fucked. I don't know where I'm about to go or whatever, but I can't get a hotel. I have no ID, and my car's getting impounded, right? And, like, I can't get it out because I have no license, right? He's like, oh, shit. Like, okay, well, let me see if I can get my dad's car, right? Because he didn't have a car at the time. So I'm like, all right, just let me know, right? So he's like, I'll call you back. So I'm waiting on his call back. He hits me back, and he's like, yeah, my dad's kind of being a dick, dude. He's asking a lot of fucking questions. Like, I don't know why he's really being a prick. And I call Kevin back, and I'm like, dude, literally, I will smoke you out on all of my weed if you come get me. I'll pay for the gas. I'll pay for anything, dude. I'll buy you a flat screen at this point, dude. Please. And he's like, fine, dude. I'll steal his car. So he's like, give me 30 minutes. I'll steal his keys when he falls asleep because he's going to bed. And then we're golden, right? So I'm like, bet. So cop comes back to my car. He's like, hey, man, you mind just go ahead and hopping out when the coast is clear? You know, he's like, I'll signal you when to get out and then just hop out and come to the passenger side, right? So I'm like, all right, bet. So there's barely any traffic. Like, rural highways in this state, there's really no traffic ever. Rush hour is not a concept here, but especially on the highway. So it was basically once the, like, one car in the far lane passed, he gave me the go, right? So I hop out, come to passenger side. I'm smoking my cigarette. Got my phone on me, and I'm just kind of chilling. And I'm like, so, you know, what's happening next? He's like, well, I can't let you drive, so your car's getting towed. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. He's like, if you have any stuff you need to get out, do it now. Now, I can't get my stuff out because I have weed in the trunk. And if I pop the trunk, I know the smell is going to flood this man's nose, and then I'm fucked. So I had to sit there and be like, no, man, I got all my stuff, man. Because luckily, listen, my weed was in the trunk, but I was smart enough to not put all my clothes in the trunk, right? I had some clothes in my backpack and some in this little garbage bag, right? The garbage bag was in the back seat, so I just grabbed the garbage bag, and I'm like, oh, that's all I got, you know, just this garbage bag and my phone, and that's it, right? And my cigarettes, right? So I'm sitting with this cop. I go sit in his car, and he kind of runs me through the tickets and explains to me what's going on. And he's like, so why are you driving, man? I was like, oh, I actually got court and, you know, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, oh, what for? I'm like, oh, whatever the fuck. I think this was like I think I had to go show that I, like, attended driving school. I don't even remember what this court date was for. I've had too many court occurrences lately, dude. Hey, the feds got to hop off my nuts, dude, for real. Holy fuck, dude. Hey, or maybe I should just stop acting up. I don't know. Either way. So, we're chatting in his car, and the tow truck pulls up, right? Tow truck puts me on the truck, right? He lifts me up. And it's like one of those, like, nice trucks. It's not one of those ones where you just, like, pick it up, like the, like, GTA mission truck and just drag your fucking wit. Like, no, dude, it was like a little flatbed kind of thing. It was I felt exquisite with my, like, $1,000 car. I was like, bro, you could probably grab a rope and drag it, and it probably wouldn't do much damage, you know, but whatever. So they hook my car up. They get me on this lift, right? And the cop is basically like, all right, well, he's got all his stuff out, so you can just give him a ride now. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, we're going to a ride back to the tow place, and I'll just wait there. And by this point, so much time had passed that it was like 8:30, right? Like, I'd spent like an hour and a half on the side of the road with this cop, right? I don't know why this all took so long. Longer than that, dude. Like, longer than that. It was over like 2 hours by the time I got dropped off, right? So, we're riding, right? And me and this tow truck driver are chatting, and the tow truck driver was kind of cool. I say kind of. I'll explain why in a minute. He let me smoke a cigarette in the truck, which was nice. But when we got towards where his tow lot was, he's like, well, the tow lot's closed right now. They had to give me an emergency call to come get this car, so you can't pick it up right now because there's no one there to give it back to you because the lot's closed. So I'm just kind of sitting there with like this blank look on my face. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what does that even mean? Where am I going? So he pulls into a gas station and drops me off at the gas station in the middle of the night. And he's like, yeah, I think there's a table in there you could sit at. And I'm like, dude, like, what the fuck? I even asked the cop. I said to the cop before I even left this guy, I was like, dude, I literally don't know anyone near here. Like, I don't even know if my friend's able to give me a ride. What am I going to do, right? And he's like, well, you could just Uber, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I get to the gas station. I pull up my Uber app because at this point, I still didn't know if Kevin was like 100% coming, right? Like, he said he was stealing his dad's car, but I hadn't heard from him in like 20 minutes. Like, since I got picked up by the tow guy, I straight up hadn't heard from Kevin, right? So I pull up my Uber app. There's no Uber in the area. It's too rural. I go to Lyft. There's no Lyft. There's no ride services. I couldn't pay someone for a ride if I wanted to, bro. So it really starts to hit me as I'm sitting in this fucking Shell gas station late at night where there's like crackheads on the side of the place. And the only things that I can see outside the window are literally another gas station, a car dealership, and a Super 8 motel. I'm starting to tweak. So I call Kevin and I'm like, yo, what's the scoop? And he's like, oh, I'm on my way already, man. And I'm like, oh, bet. Thank you so much, right? And I told him a town that was nearby because I didn't know where I was getting towed to yet. I was like kind of in between two exits. So, or not in between, but like the town coming up that I ended up getting towed to looked so small, I didn't think I was going there. I figured I was going further to a bigger town. But that's where I was going, right? So I tell him, I'm like, oh, by the way, like this is the exact spot I'm at. It's this gas station, right? And I get left at this gas station and I have to wait literally 2.5 hours with a bunch of crackheads staring me down, me having all my valuables and possessions on me, and getting stared down by the junkies at the Shell in the middle of nowhere. It was terrifying. But ladies and gents, this is getting long. We're going to stop it here and continue when Kevin picks me up and I get my ride. And we have to figure out how the fuck to get my car out of impound. It gets spooky. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did, and I'll see you guys in tonight's late night stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.